ॐ सहनाववतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। So we are studying this beautiful text, Ashtavakra Gita, and as I always remind you, it is a dialogue between Ashtavakra, the great Advaita Siddhantin, Ajatavadin Ashtavakra, and an enlightened being like Janaka. So a very, you can say, very high type of philosophy has been told in this. And therefore, when we discuss it, sometimes some shocking things also come. So we have to take in their own stead. But at the same time, we have to understand the principle behind it. And at times, as I pointed out last time as well, there is a difference between what Patanjali says, what Yoga Sutra says, and what Ashtavakra is saying. And we are pointing out those differences. And we have no idea at all to say that this is greater than Patanjali Yoga Sutra, or Patanjali Yoga Sutra compared to Ashtavakra Gita is at lower pedestal. God forbid. I am nobody to do that. But at the same time, we should understand the difference in the text in order to clear our own thoughts. You know, the samadhi which has been told in uh, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which is a kind of static samadhi which we talk about, the samadhi which has been told in Bhagavad Gita, which is a kind of dynamic samadhi which we talk about. So these differences we should note. And finally, it is our prerogative to go for one thing or the other. So this is something which I am often reminding you, and today also we shall remind that whatever we are on, I think stanza number 47 in the 18th chapter, 18वें प्रकरण के 47वें श्लोक में हम हैं, 47th stanza, and they are the attributes of an enlightened being. ज्ञानी के वो सारे लक्षण हैं, जीवन मुक्त के वो सारे लक्षण हैं, ये हमने ध्यान में रखना चाहिए. And with that little bit of introduction, I would like to start with the 47th verse. न मुक्तिकारिकां धत्ते निशंको युक्त मानसः पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् आस्ते यथा सुखम्. So this is precisely what I was talking about, the samadhi in action, which is also samadhi. This verse is exactly similar to the verse which is in Bhagavad Gita, Pashyan Shrinvan Spushan Jigran Nashnan Gachan Shwapan Shwasan Pralapan Visrujan Grundan Nunmashan Nimishan Napi Indriyani Indriyartheshu Artanta Iti Dharayan. So while all the actions, seeing or hearing or touching or tasting or eating or smelling, he is in a state of witnessing. You know, he is in samatva. He is unattached to whatever, and he is witness to what indriyas are doing. So that is the position of Ashtavakra as well in this particular. And therefore, na mukti karakam dhatte. Mukti karakam means he is not really having a means to control the mind or any means of sadhana. मुक्ति कारकाम धत्ते, मुक्ति के लिए कोई रास्ता नहीं बता रहा है वो. Ashtavakra is not prescribing a particular method, a particular way, a particular type of practice or sadhana in order to get liberated. He is not telling that you do chitta vritti nirodha and you will get liberated. He's not doing it. The enlightened person doesn't talk about the way to liberation. and doesn't talk about a method for enlightenment. So that is what he says. Na mukti karakam dhatte nishanko yukta manasa. Nishanko, he has no doubt. Why he has no doubt? Because he is yukta manasa. He is always with Atman. वो आत्मस्थित है, वो निशंक हुआ है, और इसलिए उसके लिए कोई मुक्ति का मार्ग ढूंढने की बात वो नहीं कर रहा है. सो वन हु इज आइडेंटिफाइड विद द सेल्फ, युक्त मानसा, फ्री फ्रॉम ऑल डाउट्स, निशंक, नेवर रिसोर्ट्स टू द प्रैक्टिस ऑफ मेंटल कंट्रोल, द प्रैक्टिस फॉर एनी लिबरेशन. न मुक्ति काम धत्ते पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् आस्ते यथा सुखम. While seeing, while hearing, while touching, while smelling, while eating, he stays happy and balanced. He in a state of balance. He is a state of witnessing. He is not bothered about experience itself. तो ये स्थित प्रज्ञ की ही अवस्था है. ये जो अवस्था है, जो गीता में स्थित प्रज्ञ की अवस्था है, वही दिस अवस्था है. सो ही इज हु इज स्थित प्रज्ञ. प्रज्ञा में जो स्थित है, प्रज्ञा, द नॉलेज ऑफ द सेल्फ, द हायर नॉलेज, द स्पिरिचुअल नॉलेज, द एनलाइटनिंग नॉलेज इज नोन एज प्रज्ञा. एंड जो प्रज्ञा में स्थित है उसको स्थित प्रज्ञ ऐसा कहते हैं. तो वो स्थित प्रज्ञ जो है, वो उसको मुक्ति का विशिष्ट मार्ग अपनाने की जरूरत नहीं है. मैं मुक्त हूं ये जानने की जरूरत है. दिस इज कंटिन्यूअसली व्हाट अष्टावक्र इज टेलिंग. इट इज नॉट डिस्कवरिंग द पाथ, इट इज नॉट वॉकिंग ऑन द पाथ, इट इज जस्ट knowing that you are free, you know. So the shift is like, this is what the Upanishads are really telling all the time, you know. There is nothing like, you know, for example, Kenopanishad, again and again one line which is repeated in Kenopanishad, which is very relevant in this verse also, is Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. That is Brahman and not this which people worship here. न idam yadidam upasate. ब्रह्म उपासना का विषय नहीं हो सकता. It is not object of worship which people say. Now this is directly a challenge for all the sadhanas which we are doing in Bhakti Yoga. I have an idol in front of me. मैं उसकी उपासना करता हूँ, राम की उपासना करता हूँ, कृष्ण की उपासना करता हूँ. I meditate on Omkar. I take Om as the symbol and meditate. All that is rejected here, even in the Upanishad. Nedam yadidam upasate. Why the Upanishad is saying like that? Because he says, ब्रह्म अन्य रूप से नहीं जाना सकता. Brahman cannot be object of meditation. Brahman cannot be object of knowledge. The supreme reality, which you can call Brahman, which is also Atman, is not an object of knowledge. It cannot be known as another. In any upasana, what is upasana? Upasana, to sit near. The literal meaning of this word upasana is to sit near, or even upavasa. Upavasa, vasa means to stay. Upavasa literally means not fasting, really. Upavasa is not fasting. Upavasa means to stay near the reality. Upasana means to stay near the reality. But then it's staying near the realities apart from you. This is what we have to understand. This is the difference between what Ashtavakra is telling, what Bhakti Yoga or what Patanjali Yoga Sutra is telling. That the realities are another. When you meditate on something, the meditator is different from what is meditated. जो ध्यान का विषय है, वो ध्यान के विषय से ध्यान करने वाला अलग होता है. ब्रह्मन इस प्रकार अलगाव से नहीं जाना जा सकता. So that is what continuously Ashtavakra is telling. That is what continuously the Upanishads are telling. So Upanishad yan manasana manute yena hur manomatam tadeva brahmatom vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Very beautifully told. Exactly the same thought which we are thinking now. Yan manasa na manute. It is impossible for the mind to think about it because it is beyond mind. Yan manasa na manute. It is mind cannot think of it. Yena hur manomatam. The very power of thinking is because of it. It means Brahman. The very power of मन का चिंतन जिसके वजह से होता है, मन की चिंतन शक्ति जिसके वजह से है, वो ब्रह्म है. ब्रह्म के बारे में वो चिंतन नहीं कर सकता. तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदम यदिदम उपासते. वो उपासना का विषय नहीं हो सकता. यू कांट नो ब्रह्मन एज अनदर देन यू. सो दिस इज व्हाट दिस वर्स इज आल्सो सेइंग, एंड दैट इज व्हाई न मुक्तिकारिकाम धत्ते. देयर इज ही इज नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट सम मेथड or some way of chitta vritti nirodha or something like that, because in pashyan shrunvan spushan jigran ashnan aste yatha sukam, in every action he is in Brahman only, because the shift is from the experience to experiencer. That is the shift, which is, this is a very subtle type of philosophical difference which Ashtavakra is pointing out at continuously. Pashyan shrunvan spushan jigran, they are experiences. मैं देखता हूं, मैं स्पर्श करता हूं, मैं खाता हूं, मैं पीता हूं, मैं सूंघता हूं. पंच ज्ञानेन्द्रिय द्वारा जो कुछ मैं अनुभव कर रहा हूं वो अनुभूति है. मैं अनुभूति की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं. अष्टावक्र कह रहे हैं कि आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट एक्सपीरियंसेस, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग which is experiencing, which is constant in all these experiences. देखता, देखने वाला, सूंघने वाला, सुनने वाला, खाने वाला एक ही है. मैं उस एक की बात कर रहा हूं. There is a variety of experience. Behind all the variety of experience, awareness is only one and the same. You know, I experience anything because I'm aware of it. That awareness is constant. Ashtavakra is talking about that continuous awareness behind the experience. Okay, और उसको तो देखना ही है, उसको तो जानना ही है, तो वो जानने की बात कर रहा है. So that is very beautifully said in this 47. Now what he says is, we are going to 48 now. वस्तु श्रवण मात्रेण शुद्ध बुद्धि निराकुलः नैव आचारम अनाचारम औद्यास्यम व प्रपश्यति. सो वस्तु मात्रेण, वस्तु श्रवण मात्रेण शुद्ध बुद्धि निराकुलः. शुद्ध बुद्धि, one who has सात्विक विशुद्ध बुद्धि, one who has विशुद्ध बुद्धि, सात्विक बुद्धि. Okay, and one is nirakula, very serene, very pure. One who has become very pure, one who has very pure intellect, Vishuddha Buddhi, just by listening to the truth, he gets enlightened. Vastu Shravana Matrena, जो महावाक्य है, जो उपनिषद के वाक्य है, जो 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 सत्य है, उस सत्य का श्रवण मात्र करने से वो मुक्त हो जाता है. वो मुक्त हो जाता है. बिकॉज ही, you know, Vishuddha Buddhi is like the thing which has come to flash point or ignition point. Only one spark is required to ignite it. Just one spark and it will get ignited. It has come to ignition point. Vishuddha Buddhi brings one to that ignition point. वो ज्वलनांक पर आ गया है. अब तो एक चिंगारी ही बस है उसके लिए, अग्नि के प्रकट होने के लिए. मात्र एक चिंगारी और वो प्रकट हो जाएगा. उसी प्रकार vastu shravana matrena shuddhabadi nirakura, because, and then naiva acharam anacharam. For him, there is nothing which is ought to be done or ought not to be done. Okay. Nor audasyam. Neither he becomes withdrawn from the action. He's not withdrawing from the action. He doesn't propose what should be action. He doesn't say what should not be acted upon. So one having pure intellect, Vishuddha Buddhi, and one who is serene, Nirakulaha, just by listening to the truth, goes beyond the ideas of proper and improper, acharam, anacharam, and or inaction or udasinata, inactivity. He doesn't go for inactivity. If he is not considering what is proper action and what is papa and what is punya, that doesn't mean he becomes inactive as well. He has come to that ignition point, that flash point with Vishuddha Buddhi. And therefore, in Upanishad again, in Chandogya Upanishad, there is a very beautiful story which I have told you earlier, I feel, between Shvetaketu and Uddalaka Aruni. Shvetaketu is a very brilliant figure in Upanishad. Shvetaketu is a master in all the philosophies. Actually, his father, Uddalaka Aruni, is father of Shvetaketu. And he sends Shvetaketu to Vedic ashrama for learning. 12 years learning in Gurukula. पहले जमाने में अपने बच्चे को भी गुरुकुल में भेजते थे और वो गुरु के साथ 12 साल वही रहता था. That was the beautiful system of Gurukula. Okay, so Shvetaketu stayed in Gurukula, and then he was a master in all philosophies and all. Whatever Guru was telling, he will catch it like anything. He was brilliant, always first class first, always brilliant. And after 12 years, when he returned back, when a man is a university topper, and when he comes back home, there is a tinge of ego in him that I am the best among all the students, and also so Uddalaka Aruni found that tinge of ego in Shvetaketu when he returned back from Gurukula, and then he asked, "What did you learn?" He said, "You tell me what I did not learn. Shiksha, Vyakarana, Samhita, Vedas, all the 6 systems of philosophy, everything under the sun. And I'm very glad to tell you, sir, that I stood first everywhere, and the vice chancellor was very happy with me. I'm the university topper." That is what Shvetaketu told to his father, Uddalaka Aruni, who himself was a great rishi, really. Then Uddalaka Aruni asked him that, "Did you learn that knowing which everything is known?" क्या आपने वो सीखा जो सीखने के बाद सर्व विद्या आ जाती है, सब कुछ ज्ञात होता है, ऐसी विद्या तुमने सीखी? He said, "Is there knowledge like that, knowing which everything is known?" Then Uddalaka Aruni tells that Upanishadic Mahavakya, that is Atman, and Tattvamasi, thou art that Brahman. And the moment he just listens to this, Tat Tvam Asi, thou art that, he is enlightened. That is precisely what Vastu Shravana Matrena Shuddha Buddhi Nirakula. He had become so pure with learning. He had come to that ignition point already. And just by listening to this Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, he was enlightened. He was enlightened. So that is what he says in this 48. Now we come to 49. यदा यत् कर्तुम आयाति तदा तत् कुरुते रुजुः शुभम वा अशुभम वापि तस्य चेष्टा ही बालवत्. So once he is enlightened, now he is describing the characteristics of enlightened being. जो जीवन मुक्त हो गया, जिसने सत्य को जाना है, वो कैसा होता है, वो अभी 49 में बताया है. यथा यदा यत् कर्तुम आयाति तदा यत् कुरुते रुजु. So the enlightened being does whatever comes his way, doesn't choose. जो 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 नियत यदृच्छया काम करते रहता है, जो उसके सामने है काम करता है वो. यदा यत् कर्तुम आयाति तदा तत् कुरुते रुजु. शुभम व अशुभम वापि. He doesn't even discriminate that whatever I am doing is shubha karma, auspicious or inauspicious, पाप और पुण्य. जो कुछ सामने आता है वो कर देता है, वो यदृच्छा से करता है, वो कुछ कर ही नहीं रहा है असल में. दैट इज व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू लर्न. इज नॉट, क्योंकि कर्तृत्व भाव ही उसमें होता नहीं है, वो अकर्ता होता है. कर्तृत्व भाव ही उसमें नहीं होता है, इसलिए ना वो शुभ कर्म करता है ना अशुभ कर्म करता है. जो सामने है वो करता है. यदा यत् कर्तुम आयाति तदा तत् कुरुते रुजु. शुभम व अशुभम वापि तस्य चेष्टा ही बालवत्. लाइक इनोसेंट चाइल्ड. Innocent child, just whatever is there, he does it. He doesn't think that this is papa karma or punya karma. He has no expectation of fruit also. Balavat, like innocent child. His actions are like innocent child because he has become akarta. There is no sense of doership in such enlightened person. Let us go ahead to 50. So these are the characteristics of enlightened person which we are discussing now. स्वातंत्र्यात सुखम आपनोति, स्वातंत्र्यात लभते परम, स्वातंत्र्यात निवृत्तिर्यच्छेत, स्वातंत्र्यात परमम पदम. यू नो, ही तो जीवन मुक्त स्वतंत्र होता है. He is liberated, he is free. Out of freedom only, whatever he does out of the sense of complete freedom. स्वातंत्र्यात सुखम आपनोति. Because of liberation, because of complete freedom only, he is always happy. He is always happy. Not concerned with the result of action. If you are a karta, you will be within the law of karma, and then sukhanushayi ragaha, dukkhanushayi dvesha, as Patanjali has told. If पाप कर्म किया तो तुम you will be happy. अगर पुण्य कर्म किया तो you will be happy. पाप कर्म किया तो you will be sad. Now he is beyond all that because शुभा शुभा है ही नहीं उसके पास. स्वातंत्र्यात सुखम आपनोति. So he is always blissful. स्वातंत्र्यात लभते पदम. He with that freedom he has reached the highest state of consciousness. Padam, the supreme state of consciousness is known as Padam. स्वातंत्र्यात निवृत्तिर्गच्छेत. निवृत्ति, he is already in the state of silence. चित्तवृत्ति निरोध के स्थिति में अपने आप ही वो है. किसके वजह से? स्वातंत्र्यात. Because he is free, because of total freedom. स्वातंत्र्यात परमम पदम. He is in supreme reality. He reaches the supreme reality, paramam padam, which is atma sthiti, which is ब्रह्म स्थिति. वो ब्रह्म ज्ञानी क्यों होता है? क्योंकि वो स्वतंत्र है. Now this स्वातंत्र्य, so what he is declaring? Be free, be free. You know, now what is this freedom we are talking about? You know, we should be very careful when we are talking about freedom. Many people, they feel freedom means I do whatever I want. स्वच्छंदी वृत्ति को ही, it is not licentiousness. Freedom doesn't mean मेरे मन में जो आता है मैं करता हूं, मैं free हूं, I am free to do anything. That is coming from ego. वो स्वच्छंद कहता है. स्वच्छंद means whatever comes to my mind, whatever ego says, I do. I am free to do anything. This is what the modern, generation is thinking. कि मैं स्वतंत्र हूँ, जो कुछ चाहता हूँ वो करेगा। तो वो मैं नहीं मानता हूँ, ये तुम्हारा धर्म नहीं मानता हूँ, मैं रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस नहीं मानता हूँ, मैं बड़ों की नहीं मानता हूँ, मैं स्वच्छंदी हूँ, whatever I want I will do. That is not freedom he is talking about. That is swachhanda. It is the rule of ego. You know, स्वच्छंद इज द, ये अहंकार की सत्ता में है। ये जो फ्रीडम कह रहा है, दिस टाइप ऑफ फ्रीडम इज इन द रिलम ऑफ ईगो। अष्टावक्र इज टॉकिंग अबाउट आत्मसत्ता, स्वतंत्र। स्व मीन्स द सेल्फ, द हायर सेल्फ, द आत्मन। तंत्र, that means the rule of atman. The swatantra means the rule of the self. He is in the rule of pure consciousness. He is in the rule of atman. So this is the difference which we have to understand. And what do you mean by swatantrata? It is the freedom from the body, from the senses, from the mind, from the intellect. This is the freedom which he is talking about. If you are working in the bondage of the senses and the mind and the body and all the constraints, then we are in the realm of ego. We are अहंकार की सत्ता से हम फिर कार्य कर रहे हैं। अगर शरीर से कर रहे हैं, अगर इंद्रियों के द्वारा कर रहे हैं, मन के द्वारा कर रहे हैं, बुद्धि के द्वारा कर रहे हैं, सो स्वातंत्र मीन्स टू गो बियॉन्ड ऑल दीज बॉन्डेजेस, to go beyond the bondage of body, and therefore one becomes totally free. He is in Atma Satta. So one who is in Atma Satta, he is in pure consciousness and he is totally free. So total freedom he is talking about. So we go to the next shloka number 51. Akartutvam abhoktutvam swatmano manyate yada तदा क्षीण भवत्वेश समस्ता चित्तवृत्तयः. So now this is what is beautifully told by Ashtavakra Gita. अकर्तृत्वम अभोक्तृत्वम, ये जीवन मुक्त वो कर्ता और भोक्ता नहीं है, उसमें अकर्तृत्वम है. He is free from the idea of doer or the idea of enjoyer. He is neither enjoyer nor the doer. Swatmano manyate yada. He is always with Atman. So, tadakshina bhavatyesha samasta chitta vrittaya. And because he is established in the self, naturally, spontaneously, his mind goes to silence. You know, if there are no vrittis in the mind, it is literally speaking, amanaska sthiti. He is in a state of no mind. So what this verse is saying, having realized that self, having realized that the self is neither doer nor enjoyer, akartutvam, abhoktrutvam, his modifications of mind are silence. Tada kshina bhavatyeva समस्तः चित्तवृत्तयाः. तो आत्मस्थित योगी अकर्ता होता है, उसमें कर्तृत्व नहीं होता है, उसमें भोक्तृत्व नहीं होता है, अर्थात वह अहंकार शून्य होता है, वो कुछ करता ही नहीं है, और इसलिए उसकी चित्तवृत्तियां अपने आप शांत हो जाती है. ही इज ऑलवेज इन ए स्टेट ऑफ नो माइंड. वो अमनस्क स्थिति में रहता है. सो नाउ दैट इज द डिफरेंस विच वी हैव टू सी इन Patanjali Yoga Sutra and in Ashtavakra Gita. Patanjali is talking about silencing the mind. He defines yoga as chitta vritti nirodha. You have to really bring about chitta vritti nirodha, and then tadadrashtu swarupe avasthanam. If you silence the mind, then you will be able to see the Purusha, the pure consciousness in its natural state. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So Krishnamurti, this Patanjali is talking about silencing the mind and doing sadhana for that, and all Ashtanga Yoga sadhana, which he has given yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, is the effort to silence the mind. And that is what abhyasa is, he has told. Tatra sthito yatnaha abhyasa. To stay in that state of silence itself is a spiritual practice. So that is the way Patanjali is telling it. What Ashtavakra is telling is, if you अगर आप आत्मस्थित हो जाएंगे तो अपने आप मन शांत हो जाएगा. कर्ता और भोक्ता भाव अगर आप पूरी तरह से छोड़ दिए तो अपने आप चित्त वृत्ति निरोध हो जाएगा. दिस इज द डिफरेंस इन द अप्रोच. This is the difference in the approach. If you are not there, now I always ask this question to many people that yoga chitta vritti, who is going to do that chitta vritti nirodha? Who is going to do chitta vritti nirodha? Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Who is going to do it? Ahankar is going to do it. Ego is going to do it. Who is going to do it? So that is the question which Ashtavakra is asking. Chitta vritti nirodha cannot be done. It is not an action at all. It should happen. You know. So when you slow down, when you understand yourself, अगर आपने कर्ता भाव छोड़ दिया, भोक्ता भाव छोड़ दिया, तो फिर चित्त वृत्तियां उठेगी ही नहीं, अपने आप शांति आ जाएगी. सो दैट इज व्हाट ही सेज. कर्तृत्व और भोक्तृत्व छोड़ दो, अपने आप चित्त वृत्ति निरोध हो जाएगा. सो दैट इज द थिंग विच हैज बीन टोल्ड बाय हिम. ओके, and further we are going to see what more Ashtavakra is going to tell. Okay, so this is one thing which we have to understand and note the difference between the Patanjali's approach of Ashtavakra. Okay, उच्छृंखलाप्य कृतिका स्थितिर्धीरस्य राजते न तो संप्रुह चित्तस्य शांतिर्मूढ़स्य कृत्रिमा. So now, does it mean that a man who is enlightened being, man of realization, will not show the burst of emotion anytime? Is it that he will never show any uchrunkalata? Uchrunkala means behind a burst of emotions. So even if the burst of emotions is there, he is always in a state of silence. So uchrunkalapi kritika sthitir dhirasya rajase. So he is with himself only. Even on the surface, apparently he is angry or he is showing some sort of emotions or showing emotions like common person. Inside he is calm and quiet. He is atmasthita only. His atmasthiti is not disturbed. न तो संस्पृह चित्तस्य शांतिर मूढ़स्य कृत्रिमा. मूढ़ जबकि शांत रखता है बाहर से, चित्त में उसकी अशांति है. So now Ashtavakra is distinguishing between enlightened person and a common man like you, me, and other people who sometimes when we are doing meditation, when we are doing puja, we appear to be calm and quiet at that time, but inside a lot of violence is going on. When we finish the puja, when we finish the meditation, come to normal life, do our normal things, emotions, the same hatred, jealousy, raga, dvesham starts manifesting again. So it was only some sort of temporary state of silence which we achieved for some time, and we are back to the emotional disturbances once we come back to the normal vyavahara, normal actions. While it is possible that the dhiraha, that means the enlightened being, apparently he is very angry, apparently he is very in a sort of turmoil. You are looking from outside, but inside is really calm and quiet. There are so many examples of this, but one of the best examples, which probably I shared with you some time back, is about Sati and Shiva. You know, Sati was wife of Shiva, and Shiva himself, when the Sati died, he showed that Tandava Nritya. He was so angry at that time. Now Shiva is always in a state of samadhi, but even Shiva goes for Tandav Nritya because Sati dies. But then Sati and Shiva, when they are meditating, Sati, wife of Shiva, really, the first wife of Shiva is Sati. I will not go for that story. But then she says to Shiva that that time Sita was abducted by Ravana, and Rama was in great pain. You know, he was in forest, and he was wandering in the forest. He was crying all the time. He was asking even the trees, have you seen my Sita? He was looking for the signs where she has gone. भावनाओं का उद्रेक हो गया था राम का, रो रहे थे. वहां जो पेड़ पौधे थे उनको भी पूछा थे कि अरे मेरी सीता कहाँ है, तुम जानते हो क्या? वहां वानर भी आए तो उनको पूछते थे, एंड ही वाज इन ग्रेट डिस्ट्रेस. सो सती asked Shiva that you said that Rama is an avatara, Rama is an enlightened being. Why is suffering like this? वो क्यों ऐसा इमोशंस दिखा रहा है? Why is suffering like this? What is the meaning of this? He is like you and me only. That we also get distress when something happens like this. He is also in distress. In what way Rama is different from us then? Then Shiva smiles and he says that, why don't you go and ask yourself? So he goes to that Aranya. Both of them, they descend on that Aranya, Dandaka Aranya, really speaking. And he says, you go and ask. I don't have any doubt. Shiva says, I don't have any doubt. So why should I go? You have doubt. I have shown you that here is Rama. Now you go and ask your question. And she goes. When she goes, she finds a very strange sight, that Rama is sitting on the rock along with Sita. They were never separated. Rama was smiling, calm, quiet, sitting with Sita, never in distress, full of bliss. That is the darshana which he gave. Rama was never separated from consciousness, is one and the same. Whatever was happening was only Leela. It is called Leela of Bhagwan. You know, that outwardly, yes, like a human being, because he was in human body, he was showing his distress, he was showing his pain, he was showing his all those things which are there. But inside, he knew that he had never been separated from Sita. You know, he was always with Sita. So on the rock, she actually found Rama Sita together. He was very calm and quiet. He was smiling. She just returned back and she told that I have understood the fact that this is only the outward show. This is what they call a Leela. You know, so in case of the enlightened being, there whatever comes out is only the leela of the thing, and they never have any kind of uchrunkalata. So that is what he says. और ऐसा बहुत सारे कृष्णा गोपियों के साथ जब रहता था ना, तो that time also it was only Krishna Leela which goes on. You know, Leela is an outward show. Inside there is perfect calm, quiet, and there is no disturbance at all for the enlightened being. That is what we have to know. So we go on 53. Vilasanti mahabhoge vishanti girikandaran nirasta kalpana dhira abadha mukta buddhaya. So the enlightened being, free from the imaginations and from intellect, may at times seem enjoying the luxuries and at times retiring to the mountain caves. So, nirasta kalpana dhira abadha mukta buddhaya, who has freed himself from intellect, who is abadha, is in total freedom, who is dhira, who is jnani, nirasta kalpana, he is not in any imagination, but outwardly vilasanti mahabhogai. Sometimes you will see them enjoying the greatest luxuries. Vishnu, for example, is in very great luxury, luxuriously. He is there with all. Lakshmi is his wife, so full of luxuries always. While Shiva, Kaupinavanta, Khalabhagyavanta, he has only Kaupina and he is sitting in the Kailasa. So, Vilasanti Mahabhoge, Vishanti Girikandaram. So, they are equally happy in the solitude of the forest, on the top of the mountain, alone, and they are equally comfortable in luxuries. The outward things do not disturb their silence. That is what 53 is really telling us. जो बाह्य परिस्थिति है वो बाह्य परिस्थिति से आंतरिक शांति पर कुछ भी असर नहीं होता है. हो सकता है वो बहुत लग्जरी में महल में हो सकता है वो जंगल में हो सकता है वो अकेला एवरेस्ट में बैठा हुआ हो, वही स्थिति में रहता है. एक्सटर्नल डजंट मैटर फॉर हिम. दैट इज व्हाट ही सेज. ओके, नाउ द अदर वेरी ब्यूटीफुल थिंग हैज कम इन 54. श्रोत्रियम देवताम तीर्थम अंगनाम भूपति प्रियम दृष्ट्वा संपूज्य धीरस्य न कापि हृदि वासना. Very beautiful thing. This is something which we should see for ourselves and practice for ourselves. You know, संपूर्ण वासना त्याग इसमें बताया है. दृष्ट्वा संपूज्य धीरस्य न कापि हृदि वासना. जो ज्ञानी होता है उसके हृदय में कोई इच्छा ही नहीं होता है, वो वासना रहित तो होता है. संपूर्ण वासना नाश हो गया होता है उसका. और इसके लिए होता क्या है कि इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ श्रोत्रियम, वैदिक पंडित, श्रोत्रिय यानी ए वेरी ब्रिलियंट, यू कैन से द वैदिक पंडित. देवताम, इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ गॉड, इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ तीर्थम, ऑस्पिशियस प्लेसेस. Anganam, in presence of woman, beautiful woman. Bhupatim, king. Priyam, the beloved, the near ones. He had no difference. वैदिक पंडित या देवताओं के साथ या तीर्थ क्षेत्र में या अति सुंदर स्त्री के साथ या राजाओं के सानिध्य में या प्रियजनों को देखकर ज्ञानी के चित्त में किसी भी वासना का उदय नहीं होता है. There is no difference. Well, even if he is in presence of a Vedic पंडित, उसको ये नहीं इच्छा होती कि उससे मैं वेद जान दूं. अगर देवता है उसके मैंने ये नहीं जागरूकता है मैं अभी पूजा करूं, कुछ वर मांग लूं देवता के साथ. या तीर्थ क्षेत्र में गया तो अभी मैं पवित्र हो गया, ऐसा कुछ भाव नहीं मन में निर्माण होता. या अंगनाम, वेरी ब्यूटीफुल वुमन, and he has no desire for her or her beauty. Or in presence of a king, in presence of a king you will have some slight fear of law, or maybe you will have some desire to ask something from the king. No such desire. Or beloved ones, when you meet your own son, your own wife, children and all, you want their company. No such desire exists in that man. You know, so ये सारे अलग अलग प्रकार के सिचुएशंस में उसके मन में कोई भी इच्छा निर्मित नहीं होती, क्योंकि न कापी हृदय वासना, वासना राहित्य स्थिति में है. सो दिस इज द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ द एनलाइटेंड पर्सन. वासना त्याग, वासना राहित्य. नाउ द नेक्स्ट वन इज इवन स्टिल ब्यूटीफुल, you know. भूत्ये पुत्रे कलत्रेश्च दोहित्रेश्चापि गोत्रजैः विहस्य धीकृतः योगी न याति विकृतिं मनात्. Now this is something, this is the testing point for the yogi. You know, जीवन मुक्त योगी, भूत्य यानी नौकर, पुत्रे यानी पुत्र, कलत्रैश्च यानी पत्नी, दोहित्रैश्च यानी उसके पोते, या गोत्रजय ही उसके रिलेटिव अगर उसका मजाक उड़ाते हैं, if they ridicule him, vidahasya dhikruta, or they abuse him, you know, if you are sitting and if your servant abuses you, you can't tolerate. जरा सी उसकी आवाज भी बढ़ा दी उसने ना, नहीं करता मैं, ऐसा वो बोला ना, आग बबूले हो जाओगे आप. अरे तू नौकर है, मैं पगार देता हूं तेरे को, और तू ऐसी भाषा करता है. वी विल नॉट टॉलरेट इवन ए वर्ड फ्रॉम हिम. नौकर का तो गर्दन हमेशा नीचे होनी चाहिए, ऊपर होके देखता है तुम, हिम्मत कैसी हो गई तुम्हारी. सो दिस इज व्हाट इज आवर एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड्स द नौकर. एंड पुत्रे, पुत्र सबसे ज्यादा हमको चुभन होती है जब हमारा खुद का लड़का हमारे मानता, हमारा अपमान कर लेता है, हमारा मजाक उड़ा, का बाबूजी आप बोलते हैं, पुराने जमाने की सब बात है, अभी जमाना कौन सा है, आप क्या बात कर रहे हैं. एंड मजाक उड़ाता है हमारा, या वो ही एक्चुअली अब्यूजेस. आपको कुछ मालूम ही नहीं है आजकल की बातें, आप क्या धंधा करना जानते हैं, मॉडर्न वर्ल्ड. एंड दैट इंसल्ट चुभन लगती है उससे मनुष्य को. या खुद की पत्नी, if the wife criticizes, we are hurt like anything. In front of so many people you scolded me. कुछ अक्ल है कि नहीं तुम्हारे, हमारे घर की बात तुमको अच्छा नहीं लगता था तो घर में आके बताती, एकांत में बताती, सबके सामने बताया तुमने. आई एम टू मच हर्ट इफ माय वाइफ इंसल्ट्स मी और रिडिकुल्स मी इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ अदर्स. सो नौकर, अपना खुद का पुत्र और खुद की वाइफ और खुद का द ग्रैंडसन, खुद के रिश्तेदार, ये अगर हमारा मजाक उड़ाते हैं, ये अगर हमको गालियां देते हैं, we shall not be able to keep balance. But the great ones, they are not at all perturbed by anything like that. उनके पुत्र ने भी उनको कुछ कहा, उनका समत्व ढलता नहीं है. उसके नौकर ने भी कुछ कहा, उसके खुद के स्त्री ने भी उसको कुछ कहा, उसके रिलेटिव्स ने भी उसको कहा, कुछ उसका फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. दे आर ऑलवेज इन ए स्टेट ऑफ बैलेंस. So now I remember very recently we have gone to a place in Ahmedabad, and there was a very beautiful Trimurti temple or something like that. I don't remember. And there was Bhagwan Dada, one Jain saint, Bhagwan Dada. I remember that. It's a very beautiful temple. We have a Jain temple. In that, Shiva temple is also there. And there is a little museum inside. That Bhagwan Dada, he got enlightenment just by sitting on the railway platform. I was so surprised to see it. But there is one picture which is shown. It's a pictorial museum where Bhagwan Dada, with coat and dhoti and topi, very well dressed. He was very rich, but he was enlightened being. He became enlightened being. And when he was walking on the street, one picture is there, beautiful picture. On the first floor, there is a person, typical Indian person, जो पान का खेत उगता है. That's a habit. That is our birthright. Indians feel it is their birthright to chew pan and spit anywhere and everywhere. और वो फर्स्ट फ्लोर से वो थूक देता है, और जब थूक देता है तो उसके कोट पर आके गिरता है. And when it happens like that, now anybody, आग बबूला हो जाता मनुष्य. लेकिन he says that oh, it's just a coincidence that I was walking and you spit, and incidentally I came down and the spit. No reaction, no reaction. This is the sign of a saint. You know, this was told about Eknath Maharaj also. उनको गुस्सा नहीं आता था, तो एक आदमी ने कि इनको गुस्सा आता कैसा नहीं, तो वो जब स्नान करके बाहर आए तो थूका उनके ऊपर. Very calm and quietly he went back, again took a dip in the Ganges, that means Godavari. Again came, again he spat. So many times he spat. Finally he could not spit anymore. There was no difference in Eknath Maharaj. He says that ठीक है, तूने मुझे गीला किया तो मैं जाके फिर स्नान कर लेता हूँ. So this is what there is. शीतोष्ण सुख दुखेशु तथा मानापमानयोः. This is स्थित प्रज्ञा. मान हो अपमान हो, उसके अंतर स्थिति में, उसके शांति में, उसके समत्व में कोई भी फर्क नहीं आता. This is the beauty of the enlightened being. So this is something which is attribute of enlightened being. Now 56. संतुष्टोपि न संतुष्टः खिन्नोपि न च खिद्यते तस्याश्चर्य दशाम ताम ताम तादृशा एव जायते. So this is what is explained here, that you will say it is unbelievable. What are you talking? ऐसा कैसा हो सकता है? वो आदमी डर है क्या? उसके ऊपर थूका तो भी कुछ नहीं उसको होता है. You cannot understand. You and I cannot understand his state of consciousness. तस्य आश्चर्य दशाम, ये आश्चर्यकारक जो दशा है उसकी, who is established in Atman, ताम ताम तादृशा एव जानते, उसके जैसा दूसरा ज्ञानी ही जान सकता है उसकी वो दशा. आप और हम नहीं जान सकते. हम और आप बोलेंगे ये तो बुद्धू है क्या, ये मूर्ख है क्या, उसको दो जाके चढ़ाना था, ऊपर से थूका तुम्हारे कोट के ऊपर. He said, this is an incident which has occurred. He had no intention to spit on me. He spat and I came under it and it happened like that. What is there to be getting angry about it? Or nothing. So we cannot understand that. So संतुष्टोपि न संतुष्टः, वो संतुष्ट होते हुए भी संतुष्ट नहीं है. खिन्नोपि न खिद्यते, वो खिन्न होते हुए भी खिन्न नहीं है. These are only outer waves on the mind. He is not in mind. He is only witnessing whatever is happening in the mind. वो केवल मनोदशा का साक्षी होता है. वो केवल देखता है कि अभी ये हो रहा है, उसका उसके साथ कोई संबंध नहीं होता है. वो केवल साक्षी होता है जो कुछ हो रहा है, जो कुछ मनोदशा है, जो कुछ मन में घटित हो रहा है. सो दैट इज व्हाट उसकी ये आश्चर्यकारक जो स्थिति है, तस्याश्चर्य दशाम ताम ताम तादृशा एव जानते, उसके जैसा ज्ञानी ही जान सकता है उस दशा के बारे में, उस मनस्थिति के बारे में. That state of consciousness only other enlightened being will only know. You and I cannot know about it. So that is what is so in 56. Let us go to 57. कर्तव्ये तैव संसारो नताम पश्यन्ति सूरयः शून्याकारा निराकारा निर्विकारा निरामयः. So that is 51. So Surya means the wise one. The sense of duty prevails in this world, but not so for the wise one. Kartavya teva samsaro natam pashyanti suraya. कर्तव्य दृष्टि ये आपकी हमारी है. सर्वसामान्य संसारी मनुष्य, ये मेरा कर्तव्य है, ये मेरा कर्तव्य नहीं है. दिस इज माय ड्यूटी, दिस इज नॉट माय ड्यूटी. This is the discussion between the ordinary people with ordinary intellect. संसारी लोगों की ये भाषा है. नताम पश्यन्ति सूरया, ज्ञानी डजंट सी एनी ड्यूटी और नॉट ड्यूटी, कर्तव्य अकर्तव्य ये वो देखता नहीं है। क्यों? शून्याकारा, निराकारा, निर्विकारा, निराभया, वो तो शून्य स्थिति में, ही इज इन स्टेट ऑफ नो माइंड, ही इज इन, ही निराकार, निर्विकार, शून्याकार, so he is in a state of no mind at all, and therefore he doesn't see any sense of duty as such. Whatever karma is doing is not out of the sense of duty, ये मुझे करना ही है, ये मेरा कर्तव्य कर्म है। इसलिए भगवत गीता में श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन को कहता है, न मे पार्थास्ति कर्तव्यम त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन। पार्थ है अर्जुन, तू ये जान ले कि ये मत समझ कि मैं कुछ कर्तव्य करने यहाँ आया हूं। तीनों लोक में, स्वर्ग, मृत्यु, पाताल, त्रिषु लोकेशु किंचन, ये तीनों लोक में मुझे कोई भी कर्तव्य नहीं है, क्योंकि मेरे अंदर कर्ता भाव ही नहीं है। So what is the sense of duty? I am not doing here, I have not come here to do my duty or something. I am not bound by any duty. A Jivan Mukta is not bound by any duty because he is experiencing wide, Shunyakara. He is experiencing Nirakara, formless. He is Nirvikara, immutable. Niramaya, he is pure. And therefore, वो आत्मस्थित है और उसे इस जगत में कोई भी कर्तव्य नहीं है. That is what is said here. Let us take one more. अकर्तृत्वम अपि संक्षोभात व्यग्र सर्वत्र मूढ़धीः कुर्वन् अपि तु कृत्यानि कुशलो हि निराकुलः. So this is the difference between an ordinary person and a man of enlightenment. A fool without doing anything remains agitated. अकुर्वन् अपि संक्षोभात व्यग्रः सर्वत्र मूढ़धीः. मूढ़धी means a fool, a man of ordinary intellect, a संसारी मनुष्य. आप हम सब ये मूढ़धी में आते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि हम कुछ न करते हुए भी संक्षोभात, we are doing so many things without doing anything, you know. कुर्वन् अपि तु कृत्यानि कुशलो हि निराकुलः. वो काम करते हुए भी he is calm and quiet, while in action also he is in perfect silence. The enlightened being is perfect. When we are not doing anything, at that time also we are doing so many things, you know. घर में ऐसा बहुत बार होता है कि the mother gets very much agitated by the husband and the children and the daily doing the thing. So she withdraws. She stops talking to everybody. कि यहाँ क्या मैं मोलकर ही दूं क्या? हमेशा रसोई बनाना, तुमको परोसना और ये, और किसी को कीमत नहीं है मेरी. So she kept quiet और she tells, खाना बना के रखा हुआ है, खाओ और जाओ. और एक दिन दो दिन ऐसा होने से उसका ये जो विड्रॉल है ना, मतलब एक प्रकार से वो कुछ भी कर नहीं रही है, मौन में है, मौन में. तब भी बहुत कुछ हो रहा है. एवरीबॉडी इज एंशियस. व्हाई द मदर इज नॉट टॉकिंग, व्हाई द फादर इज नॉट टॉकिंग. या कभी कभी लड़का भी ऐसा होता है कि मुझे, एक बार बोलता है कि मुझे आईफोन चाहिए, वो इतने हजारों रुपए का, मुझे मालूम भी नहीं कितना उसका कॉस्ट है. एंड फादर सेड नो, नॉट नाउ, नाउ इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी, यू ऑलरेडी हैव फोन, लेटेस्ट मॉडल, व्हाई इट इज नेसेसरी, आई विल नॉट गिव यू. एंड देन द बॉय स्टॉप्स टॉकिंग. निवृत्त जैसा आता है, स्टोन जैसा बैठता है. खाने को बुलाओ तो मुझे भूख नहीं है, कुछ करता नहीं है, एक प्रकार से निवृत्त है. वो निवृत्ति बहुत महंगी पड़ती है माता पिता को, बहन बहन को. क्या इसको हो गया भाई, कैसे उसको मनाओ? इट लीड्स टू लॉट ऑफ प्रवृत्ति इन अदर्स. ओके, सो कर्तव्ये तैव संसारो नताम पश्यन्ति नो अकुर्वन् अपि संक्षोभात व्यग्रः सर्वत्र मूढ़धि. कुछ नहीं करते हुए भी बहुत सारे इमोशनल डिस्टर्बेंसेस Mudhadi, the man of ordinary intellect, the Murak, a fool without doing anything, remains agitated because of the unrest which is there inside. An adept, Kushalaha, adept performing duties, remains calm and quiet. He does everything but remains silent. मूढ़ कर्म न करते हुए भी अंतःकरण के कोलाहल में व्यस्त रहता है, एजिटेटेड रहता है. वही कुशल यानी ज्ञानी यानी योगी कर्म करते हुए भी शांत रहता है. So that is why he is doing action in inaction, inaction in action, which we saw last time. कर्मण्य कर्मयः पश्येत अकर्मणिश्च कर्मयः सबुद्धिमान मनुष्येषु संयुक्त कृष्ण कर्म कुरुत. वो कर्म करते हुए भी कर्म नहीं किया जैसा ही होता है और इसलिए वो शांत रहता है. So we have already come to 9 past 9. So I think I should stop here and give chance for question and answer if there are some observations or something. So I should stop here. So I will chant Shanti Mantra and stop. But if Deepak Bhai allows and if you want to make some observations or something, you are free to do that. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityu Ma Amrutam